Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the latest mission from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight Now. It's good to be with you here on this Sunday, April 19th. The team all back in Florida. Very exciting. We are broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, we are currently T-minus 58 minutes, 33 seconds, and counting away from the liftoff of that rocket you see there in the heart of your screen. This is Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, getting ready for the third launch of the New Glenn program. Notably, this will be the first time that Blue Origin attempts to reuse most of a Glenn Stage 1, or the booster, of a New Glenn rocket. The booster, called Never Tell Me the Odds, managed to beat the odds and land successfully on its first flight back in mid-November of 2025. Since then, Blue Origin opted to replace the 7 BE-4 engines at the base of the New Glenn booster and refurbish the rest of that first stage, integrate it with the rest of the launch vehicle, roll it out to the pad, and performed a successful static-fired test back on April 13th, which puts them in a position where today, in just 57.5 minutes, if all continues to go well, we should see the launch of this New Glenn rocket, along with the payload for its first non-government commercial customer, AST SpaceMobile. As we're getting going here this morning, I want to thank the more than 500 of you who are up with us early, watching us live at this point in the count. We certainly appreciate those of you who are with us now and those of you who will join us throughout the course of the coverage. As you hop on in, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button and sharing the stream, allowing some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage today. And this is the first bit of our live coverage today, as we are also looking towards the upcoming launch of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that's getting ready to take flight from over on the West Coast. And then coming off the weekend back here in Florida, another Falcon 9 rocket getting ready to take flight. This time not with a batch of Starlink satellites, but with a piece of hardware and technology that is integral in basically all of our lives, the latest satellite for the GPS constellation. We will have much more on both of those Falcon flights and their respective live broadcasts, so we'll leave the conversation on that for another time. For now, we focus here on Blue Origin's New Glenn, just about 55.5 minutes before liftoff. Time now, T-minus 53 minutes, 4 seconds and counting, as Blue Origin is getting closer to the hopeful liftoff of its New Glenn rocket. Want to remind folks that they have a 2-hour launch window with which to get this bird off the ground, delivering the BlueBird 7 satellite to low Earth orbit. So while the current T0 is aiming for the opening of the window at 6:45 is the current plan, that may shift as things go along. This morning, our team is fully mobilized to capture this launch of a New Glenn rocket coming up here in about 51.5 minutes. Our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, is running the technical operations of the broadcast. Shared some photos from our Michael Kane, who was able to take a trip out to sea to capture some video or some photos of the New Glenn rocket from the open waters. Our Adam Bernstein and John Pisani are south of the rocket right now, getting ready to capture it as it takes flight and heads off on a southeasterly trajectory once it does leave the pad. If you're not following our team, you can find them at their handles here on X. Adam is at ABurnNYC. John is at John Pisani Photo. Michael at MD Kane Jr. While you're there, be sure to follow us at Spaceflight Now as well. You can find us on X, Blue Sky, Threads, and Facebook by simply searching for Spaceflight Now. We are also joined today by our friends Pete Karstens with Max Q Productions, as well as Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. Taking a look at our live chat, want to thank our moderators who are helping us out today. So we've got M. Teresa with us at the moment. And if you do see any of our other mods join in, be sure to give them a big old Spaceflight Now hello. As we are approaching 46 and a half minutes remaining on the clock, let's go ahead and talk about what is still ahead for Blue Origin before it is able to send this New Glenn rocket on its way here today. The fueling process for Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket began some time ago. Tanking starts at around T-minus 4.5 hours before liftoff with a loading of liquid hydrogen on Glenn Stage 2, the upper stage of the rocket. That's followed about 30 minutes later by liquid oxygen loading on both the first and second stage tanks. Followed about 30 seconds later by loading of liquefied natural gas or liquid methane on board of the first stage of New Glenn. Prop load continues until just about 30 seconds ago is when that was expected to wrap up, around T-minus 45 minutes, and then the vehicle goes into replenish mode. Following that, around the time that we expect to get some live views from Blue Origin, they will conduct a T-minus 30 weather check, make sure that things are going along as expected from a meteorological perspective. Then at T-minus 17 minutes, the launch team will conduct a go, no-go poll to proceed into the terminal count. If that is granted, terminal count will pick up in the final 4 minutes before the planned liftoff. The tanks will pressurize at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. About a minute after that, the vehicle will switch to internal power. We'll see the rainbirds at the base of the pad or the water deluge system kick on in the final half a minute before liftoff. That's also when the autopilot system is engaged. The 7 BE4 engines at the base of the booster will kick on at T.5.6 seconds. And if all goes well, we'll see the hold down clamps release, and the New Glenn rocket will take off. Again, currently looking at that departure time at 6:45 a.m. Eastern, 10:45 UTC for those around the world. 42 minutes, 40 seconds from now, if all goes well. They do have a 2-hour launch window, so time to play with if needed. I mentioned the weather check that's coming up at T-minus 30 minutes. Weather looking quite good for today's launch attempt of a New Glenn rocket. About 90% favorability, with teams watching for the potential for interference from the cumulus cloud rule and the thick cloud layers rule. However, if for whatever reason Blue Origin is unable to launch today, from strictly a weather perspective, tomorrow looks significantly less favorable, with about a coin toss for conditions, 50% chance for violating weather from some combination of liftoff winds, and again, the cumulus cloud rule and the thick cloud layers rule all in play in a 24-hour backup scenario, with the liftoff winds set to be quite strong. Thankfully, solar activity is low on both days, so that's one less thing to worry about, I suppose. Going back to our live chat here for just a second, we ask that you post your message in English so that our moderators can respond as appropriate. We also ask that you please don't delve into topics of overt politics or religion and hold off from using on all caps. Emojis are perfectly fine. We just ask that you don't create a huge block of them so it takes up a large chunk of the live chat space. And last but certainly not least, we ask that you treat each other with the kindness and respect that you yourself would like to be treated. We'll all get along swimmingly. Talking about the rocket that is set to fly here in about 38 minutes, 56 seconds, and counting. New Glenn from tip to tail stands at a height of 321 feet or 98 meters. Distinct from other rockets that are flying today for now, has a payload fairing diameter of 23 feet or 7 meters compared to what is much more common these days, fairing diameter of about 5 meters. That gives them a fairing volume of 16,184 cubic feet or 485 cubic meters. It's one of the reasons why AST SpaceMobile was keen to book a number of launches with Blue Origin. There is just one BlueBird 7 satellite on this mission, but future flights with New Glenn will feature up to 8 of the BlueBird satellites. A previous iteration of BlueBird launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. That was 5 of the BlueBird satellites in one go. Those are comparatively smaller than the iteration that is set to fly here today. This one weighing about 6,100 kilograms in mass. Time now, T-minus 35 minutes, 5 seconds and counting. Because AST SpaceMobile is a publicly traded company, does afford us some additional insight into their plans and the way that they're rolling out their constellation. Their most recent investor earnings call was back on March 2nd, and among their various slides in their presentation was this one, which gives you an idea of the expansion in size and capability of their Block 2 version of their BlueBird satellites as compared to the Block 1s that flew previously on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. See, we've got moderator Aussie Space Girl joining us from Australia. Good to see you, Stephanie. Hope you're doing well. AST SpaceMobile says their goal for 2026 is to deploy between 45 and 60 of their Block 2 satellites across multiple launch providers, including, of course, Blue Origin. The company also says they have about a dozen other missions coming up on other launch providers and at least one flight on a new launch provider vehicle, which they cryptically did not reveal during the earnings call, so we'll have to wait and see who that new entrant might be. Possibly someone like Stoke Space or perhaps another player, maybe Relativity. Question in the live chat here about if the New Glenn rocket is the equivalent of a Falcon 9. No, the New Glenn has more lift capability than the Falcon 9 rocket. Falcon 9 produces about 1.7 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. A New Glenn rocket, like the one we're about to see fly right now, has about 3.85 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. This puts the New Glenn rocket sort of in the middle of a Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy as far as liftoff capability, where a Falcon Heavy produces a little more than 5 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. Blue Origin, though, is working on a super heavy lift version of the New Glenn rocket, which would feature 9 BE-4 engines instead of the 7 that is currently flying right now. Just about 30 seconds away from being 30 minutes from the opening of the launch window here, which means we should be getting views from Blue Origin at the pad level in the not too distant future. Like with the first flight of a New Glenn rocket, well, both the first and second flight of New Glenn, Blue Origin will attempt to recover the first stage booster. And the hope, of course, is that this will be much more like flight number 2 than flight number 1. Keep our eyes out for these cruise ships, though, as they're coming in and out of Port Canaveral. Tend to obscure the nice views of the rocket. A little hard to tell from this vantage point, but I believe this is a Carnival cruise line? Nope, Norwegian. One nice thing, though, about the cruise ship when it goes by is you can see all the people on Jetty Pier jetting out in front of the ship there. So the one silver lining of a massive cruise ship blocking the view of the rocket is you get to see the human element of this mission. All the people that are eagerly awaiting the liftoff of New Glenn for just the third time. And again, the plan is to recover the booster again. Blue Origin says that it's working to certify New Glenn for up to 30 or 25 flights each. Time now currently T minus 23 minutes and counting. Currently 21 minutes, 42 seconds and counting to the opening of the window today. Again, this is a 2-hour long window, so if for whatever reason Blue Origin does need some additional time, they do have that to play with. Coming up at T minus 17 minutes, there will be a go, no go poll to proceed towards the terminal count. We will, of course, bring that audio up to you when that does become available for that terminal countdown. For now, let's go ahead and talk about the launch timeline, the milestones that we are anticipating for this mission once liftoff is achieved. Things will, of course, kick off with liftoff, which currently Blue Origin is trending toward the opening of the window, it seems. We'll adjust that if that does change. After liftoff, the rocket will pass through main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Sorry, folks. Thought I missed a step here and wanted to make sure that I had these correct for you. Before main engine cutoff, of course, the rocket will pass through max Q first. That is the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Happens a little more than a minute and a half after liftoff. And then that's followed up by main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about T plus 3 minutes and 5 seconds, when the 7 BE4 engines at the base of the booster will complete their first burn. See stage separation moments after that, and then the upper stage engines will ignite for Glenn's stage 2. Those 2 BE3U engines. The payload fairings, those 7-meter payload fairings, will jettison at about T plus 3 minutes and 42 seconds. That'll be followed by the first stage re-entry burn, which will last a little more than 30 seconds, about T plus 7 minutes and 6 seconds. The first stage landing burn, if all continues to go well with the booster called Never Tell Me the Odds, will happen at T plus 9 minutes and 3 seconds. With a touchdown on the landing vessel called Jacklyn at T plus 9 minutes and 23 seconds. That'll be followed by the cutoff of the two BE3U engines on Glenn Stage 2 at T plus 13 minutes and 1 second. The upper stage will then coast until about an hour later at T plus 1 hour, 9 minutes, 41 seconds when the engines will reignite. The engines will cut off about a minute after that and set the stage for the AST BlueBird 7 satellite to separate and begin its mission at T plus 1 hour, 15 minutes, 44 seconds post liftoff. A couple more milestones before the mission wraps up. There will be a disposal burn of the upper stage more than an hour and a half after the separation of BlueBird 7. It will complete its burn about 12 seconds after it begins. It's set to hit the ocean and finish its disposal at T plus 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 8 seconds post liftoff. You've seen we've reset our clock. We are making an adjustment based off of the fact that the terminal count go no go poll has not taken place.
LC1.
Go.
LC2.
Go.
LSO.
Go.
OSM.
Go.
RC.
Go.
ESR.
Go.
AC.
Go.
Recovery.
Go.
PLI.
Go.
BMD.
Go.
We are go for terminal count.
As you just heard, the go no go poll has been complete, and Blue Origin is tracking towards a liftoff of its New Glenn rocket coming up here in less than 15 minutes time. We've taken down our countdown clock momentarily as we're just working out the precise T0 here. The clock that you see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen currently at L minus 12 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. Little bit of some guesswork here, unfortunately. We'd like to be, of course, as precise as possible here at Spaceflight Now, but heading into the go-no-go poll and coming out of that, Blue Origin has not announced a specific liftoff time, a specified T0 with seconds, so makes it tricky to specifically tune our countdown clock to the correct T0 liftoff time. So a little bit in the dark here, but this is a decent approximation of what we should be seeing here. So we're on the order of 11.5 minutes away from liftoff here this morning. As you can see, lots of folks gathered out here in the beach area by Jetty Park as the New Glenn rocket is getting ready to take flight for just the third time from Launch Complex 36 there at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The rocket will be flying on a southeasterly trajectory once it does leave the pad. As far as what folks can expect to see, let's go ahead and bring up this launch visibility map that was created by Blue Origin for this mission. That's a good approximation of the trajectory and about how far post liftoff the launch should be visible. Again, depending on lighting and other conditions in your area. Although, as you can see, bring this back out to our shot here, you can see some of those cumulus clouds in the area, so viewing conditions may not be the most spectacular if you're terribly far away from Central Florida or specifically Florida's Space Coast. Currently 9.5 minutes remaining in the count here. We'll note that the coloring of what I'm about to show you in this graphic is a little bit outdated, but just to give you a sense of what's going on under the hood for the Blue Origin New Glenn rocket. Here's a graphic that shows you the various tanks that make up this 321-foot tall launch vehicle. Time now, roughly L minus 7 minutes, 34 seconds and counting. We showed you the visibility map, but let's go ahead and give you a better idea of what the trajectory is going to look like for this mission. New Glenn set to lift off from, of course, the pad that you see there live on your screen on the right-hand side at Launch Complex 36 there at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The rocket will fly on a southeasterly trajectory, heading away from Florida's Space Coast. Again, as far as the timing goes, following stage separation, a little bit more than 3 minutes after liftoff. Glenn Stage 1, the booster called Never Tell Me the Odds, set to separate. There will be a 3-engine reentry burn at about 7 minutes, 6 seconds post-liftoff. Then there will be a single engine landing burn that, if all goes well, will take it down to the landing vessel called Jacklyn. So far, Blue Origin hasn't performed recover and reuse of payload fairings, but if they intend to make their rocket as reusable as possible, then we may see fairing recovery at some point in the future, potentially with this mission, but that has not been formally announced as a goal for Blue Origin. Less than 6 minutes remaining in the count so far. By all accounts, this seems to be a fairly smooth countdown. The go no go poll hitting right at near the first opportunity that they had towards the opening of the window. Just as a quick note, as we do with SpaceX broadcast as well, the broadcast coming in from Blue Origin is coming to us, unfortunately, on a delay, which is why you see the discrepancy between their L- clock and our L- clock. Also, again, want to give the caveat that Blue Origin did not publish a specific time that they are currently working towards with seconds. Vehicle should be in terminal count now, though. And there is a hold in place.
Stand by. GSW has TCS abort saving complete.
All right, if you have been following along on your screen, you see the T-clock. It has stopped at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. We are currently in a hold. We will stay here on New Glenn. I'm going to find out some more information about this hold and get that information back to you.
Again, for those just joining us, expecting an on-time liftoff of New Glenn, just want to let folks know that they are in an unscheduled hold that began as announced at T-minus 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Reason for the hold has not been given yet, so we're standing by for further information. Blue Origin, though, does have a 2-hour-long window of opportunity for this mission, which opens in 1 minute's time. So an on-time liftoff would have been ideal, but given that this is just the third flight for Blue Origin with their New Glenn rocket, coupled with the fact that they are attempting to fly a refurbished booster for the first time, a lot of newness in this mission. So we will stand by for further details, and we will relay them to you as soon as they become available. Again, for those just joining us, we're just about at 6, coming up to 6:50 now. It's 6:49 currently here on the East Coast as Blue Origin was approaching the terminal count for the launch of the New Glenn rocket. They hit an unscheduled hold. Heard a brief note about something regarding abort safing, but didn't get any other particulars in there. We're standing by to see if Blue Origin will continue on with their launch attempt today. Again, they do have a 2-hour-long window, so still time to play with. The reason for the hold was not announced. Let's go ahead and listen in here. No new update yet from Blue Origin. The hold persists. New T0 has not been announced. Again, they are just about 6 minutes into a 2-hour-long window, so assuming that the vehicle and the payload are healthy and there isn't a persistent ground systems issue, they still may be able to launch today. Again, they still have quite a bit of latitude to play with. Time now 6:55 a.m. Eastern. The hold continues to persist on the New Glenn rocket, now 10 minutes past the opening of their 2-hour-long launch window. A beautiful sunrise, though, is a consolation. This view coming from our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images, shooting on Merritt Island this morning. As we're approaching the top of the hour here, 6:58 a.m. Eastern, 10:58 UTC, the unplanned hold for Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket persists, with still no explanation as to what issue is being worked at this time, whether there's an issue with the ground systems, with the rocket itself, with an errant boat in the keep-out zone. It's entirely unclear at this point in time. No details have been passed along from the Blue Origin commentator. The last statement from the company came about 9 minutes ago when they said on social media that they entered into a hold prior to terminal count, new T0 forthcoming. But again, neither in their post to X nor on their broadcast and their commentary have they said exactly what the issue is that is being worked that caused the hold. as we're waiting for more on the status of New Glenn, let's go ahead and listen in on this discussion of their Mark 1 lunar lander.
Went through TVAC in the same chamber that once tested the Apollo command module and the Apollo lunar lander, the same chamber that helped humans get to the moon the first time.
Endurance just got back to Florida. In fact, as I talked about with John, I got stopped in traffic as I watched Endurance come back, and we've got a full test campaign ahead.
Yeah, now that test campaign includes modal testing, separation shock testing, and electromagnetic compatibility testing, along with some vibration testing. Each one checks a different way the lander could get stressed, shaken, or interfered with on its trip to the moon.
Each test gets us one step closer to launch and ultimately to landing on the moon. Right now, you are watching NG3. New Glenn is out on the pad. We are currently in a hold, and we're going to toss it back over to the rocket as we await more information.
And it looks like a new T0 has been established. We're working on adjusting our clock accordingly. Appears to be 7:25. We're just double checking, and then we'll change our clock as well. Now currently L minus 18 minutes, 11 seconds or thereabouts. Blue Origin says they are now targeting a new T0 of 7:25 a.m. Eastern, 11:25 UTC. So in about 1 minute's time, there may be another go-no-go poll to proceed towards the final terminal count again. We'll stand by and bring that in if Blue Origin does do another readiness poll. Taking a look at one of the comments in our live chat here about the time from liftoff to booster landing. The couple of events that lead to the recovery of the first stage booster. At about T plus 7 minutes and 6 seconds, there will be a re-entry burn using 3 out of the 7 BE4 engines.
Zero of 1125 Zulu.
Okay. All stations are still on count 1.
We were listening into the go
Cry 2, you're approved to put those steps inward. All stations LD on count 1 with your go pull for terminal count. When pulled, respond go or no go. GC.
Go.
LC1.
Go. No go.
LC. Say again.
Stand by 1.
LC2.
Go.
LSO.
Go.
LSM.
Go.
RC.
Go.
ESR.
Not ready. Stand by.
Go pending the trajectory upload to the for the radios.
Delta Caps. AC.
Go.
Recovery.
Go.
PLI.
Go.
DMD.
DMB is go.
We are go pending LC1 completing final PDI uploads. And Crowd 2 completing his actions from DA. GC LC1, LC2 configure for terminal count for step 2-2 L7000.
LC1.
GC copies.
time at the moment, L minus 11 minutes 50 seconds or thereabouts. As you heard with the go no go poll, there's still some outstanding work that needs to be complete. Some trajectory data needs to finish uploading, and so they are go pending the outcome of that work. But then the commentator Tabitha noted that they are awaiting a new T0, so it's a little bit hard to parse exactly the status of things right now. We'll try to keep you informed as best as we are aware. Right now, Blue Origin's clock continues to move forward, so presumably they are still aiming for that T0 at 7:25 a.m. Eastern or 11:25 UTC, but we are unclear on the status of the trajectory data that needs to be uploaded. There was a reference as they went through the go no go status check at GSR polled no go. I don't have a full readout of all the positions in Blue Origin's launch control room, but GSR may be Glenn's stage recovery. Referring, of course, to the first stage booster called Never Tell Me the Odds. This is Blue Origin's third flight overall with its new Glenn rocket program, and just the first time that the company is attempting to launch a refurbished booster in any form. Taking a live look right now at the Jacklyn landing barge, the destination, if all goes well, for Glenn Stage 1. Now fewer than 8 minutes as things currently stand to the launch of Blue Origin's new Glenn rocket. I want to take a look at our live chat real quick here. Thank the 9,800 of you who are watching along with us live today. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button and sharing the stream to allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. I also want to thank a few folks for their individual support here. Thanks to KH for the $10 super chat, one of our channel members. Also thanks to Grape Ape, I guess, joining us with membership at the pad leader level. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. As a reminder, channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, which is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to member-only videos here on YouTube. Access to our members-only Discord server. And the ability to watch all of our live launch liftoff moments from here in Florida in 4K. In fewer than 2.5 minutes, teams will once again approach the terminal count. This is where Blue Origin ran into the unplanned hold earlier in the count, and you're taking a live look inside the inner stage there. You can see the 2 engine nozzles for the upper stage engines. These are the 2 BE3U engines. And a live shot out of the beach there now. And it looks like Blue Origin has a helicopter in the air. I believe we heard that earlier today. Again, there's just about a minute and change left before Blue Origin once again is set to enter into the 4-minute terminal count. We'll see if things are continuing to progress well. We have not heard a status update on the GSR position within the Launch Control Center for Blue Origin. That's at their facilities at Rocket Park, which is adjacent to the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex for those visiting the area. Four minutes and counting in real time. We are standing by to see if Blue Origin is able to pass into the terminal count. Again, their broadcast coming in on a slight delay, which is why their clock is behind ours. Standing by for further.
Whether it's full loss of A functionality or redundancy therein.
Excited Blue Origin employees around the country there.
All right, we've got Team Blue across the United States. We're talking.
The terminal count continues to roll on, apparently. 3 minutes and counting from the Blue Origin broadcast, about 2.5 minutes in real time. Tanks set to pressurize within the past 30 seconds, so watching for the final minutes here of the count. Vehicles should switch to internal power in about 20 seconds. If all still going well with Blue Origin, we're about a minute and a half away from liftoff. Yeah, I'll bring it down.
T-minus 130.
You can probably hear our pack.
Blue Origin clock about a minute and a half off from we're seeing here in real time. We're now approaching the final 30 seconds here. Range reported green. About 20 seconds. Roughly 15 seconds. Again, this is approximate, but here we go in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and liftoff of New Glenn, the first flight of a reused booster. New Glenn has cleared the tower. Now 1 minute into flight. In about 30 seconds, the vehicle will pass through max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Passing through max Q. Throttling back up on the BE4 engines. A nice shot of those. Blue Origin reports good data quality. Coming up on 2 minutes into flight. Rocket now about 2.5 minutes post liftoff. Coming up to stage separation. MECO first at T plus 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Stage separation a few seconds after that. And then the ignition of the two BE3U engines. Coming up to MECO in about 10 seconds. Teams reporting good trajectory. And there's Miko. Stage separation. Should have good ignition of those BE3Us, and there you can see the glow there, a little bit of a jellyfish effect. And you can see the two glowing engines of the BE3Us. And good onboard cameras of stage separation. That looks really nice. Good tracking views of both the first and second stages. With fairing separation as well. Now, a little more than 4.5 minutes into flight. Coming up next, the next big milestone is coming up at around T+7 minutes and 6 seconds when the 3 gimbaling engines on Glenn Stage 1, the booster called Never Tell Me the Odds, will reignite. That reentry burn set to last a hair more than 30 seconds. Now 5 minutes into the mission. Blue Origin tracking with its long-range cameras as well. We will keep our eyes to the sky for if we're able to capture that re-entry burn. Again, the Blue Origin broadcast running about 30 seconds behind real time, so we're keeping our eyes peeled for the start of the 3-engine entry burn. Again, that entry burn set to begin at T+7 minutes and 6 seconds in real time, so we are just a little bit more than a minute away from that milestone getting underway here. In real time, we're coming right up to the point of entry burn, expected now in about 10 seconds. Standing by to see if we can spot that burn, maybe a little bit too far out for our tracking cameras to see that, coupled with the clouds and the lighting. We'll watch for the burn here with the Blue Origin cameras.
And we see
There's a shot of
ignition
Jacklyn there,
on
past
all
7
three
minutes into
engines
flight.
for GS1. Chamber pressures look good. Body rate control looks
Ignition
good.
on all 3 engines on GS1, and pressures and temperatures look good.
Standing by for GS1
Again.
MECO shortly. GS2 engines continue to look good.
Just 2 engines
7
continue
minutes,
to
30
look
seconds
good.
into
We have
flight.
our Patrick Moore inside mission control, and we are repeating a bit of what he's saying just because it's a little difficult to hear.
And GS1 MECO confirmed.
And as you can see, it looks like a good entry burn. Saw a little bit of the glow from those BE4 engines. The landing burn set to begin here in now 1 minute's time. That'll use the center engine to take the booster down to the landing vessel called Jacklyn. Again, the entry or the landing burn should begin at T plus 9 minutes 3 seconds, lasting about 20 seconds in duration. Nice little shot color there as it comes back through. Let's go ahead and listen in as the landing burn is getting ready to begin.
And we see 3 good engines on landing burn. Engine ignition confirmed.
3 good engines on landing burn is what I'm hearing from Patrick.
Are they changing GS1?
They are.
Little low-level clouds.
Switch to 1 engine. Seeing the chamber pressure.
Here we go.
Oh my God.
Stepping back to touchdown.
Some of the films.
I'm hearing cheers on the touchdown.
I think touchdown is.
We see a lot of clouds of smoke there, but I'm hearing good cheers. Great drone shots there. There we have it. Welcome back once again. Never tell me the odds. It's good to say that twice, Alice.
Oh my gosh, it sure is. Look at that shot of GS1 on the landing barge. Beautiful landing.
We love it when it hits right in the middle of that feather.
And as you can see, the booster Never Tell Me the Odds completing its second mission, sticking the landing, the first flight of a reused New Glenn first stage booster. Worth noting, the engines were replaced for this mission, so not an entire reuse for the booster, but still quite an accomplishment for Blue Origin. Just their third flight and apparently ending dynamic tracking there. But 2 out of their 3 first flights for New Glenn both stuck the landing on these latest 2. And with the booster now on the landing vessel, a big accomplishment for Blue Origin, but of course this is a customer flight, which means things are still moving along for their customer AST SpaceMobile. Coming up in now about a minute and a half at just past the 13-minute mark, the second stage engine cutoff, or SECO-1, set to take place, where the 2 BE3 engines will conclude their current burn. The upper stage will then coast until T plus 1 hour, 9 minutes, 41 seconds post liftoff. There will be a second burn of the upper stage engines, lasting about a minute's worth of time to circularize the orbit. And then the BlueBird 7 satellite from AST SpaceMobile is set to be deployed. and you're taking a look around the horn for Blue Origin at their various production sites in Kent, Washington, and Huntsville, Alabama, and over at Rocket Park here in Florida. Second stage engine cutoff SECO 1 confirmed. Again, the upper stage now in a good coasting orbit. And as we're listening to the commentary from Blue Origin, the teams are apparently not going to stay with the broadcast through deployment. So we're expecting to lose views from Blue Origin here in the next minutes, which is why we've peeled away from them for now. Again, Blue Origin wrapping up their coverage before the deployment of the AST SpaceMobile BlueBird 7 satellite, which is set to happen a little bit more than an hour's time from now. Actually, just about 1 hour. Roughly T plus 1 hour, 15 minutes, 44 seconds is when the BlueBird 7 satellite is set to deploy, but Blue Origin deciding to wrap up its live broadcast instead, and will confirm deployment on its social media. And we're going to go ahead and start to wrap up our live coverage here as well. But before we do, want to go ahead and turn to our mission stats as they currently stand. This was the second flight of the first stage New Glenn booster called Never Tell Me the Odds. Again, a slight asterisk to that in that Blue Origin decided to use all new engines on the booster, but the rest of the booster was reflown from NG2. This was the first New Glenn launch of the year so far, the third overall for Blue Origin from Launch Complex 36, and the 114th overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Turning to some industry stats here, this was the 29th orbital launch from the Sunshine State of Florida, the 52nd from U.S. soil, the 57th from a U.S. rocket company, and the 90th launch attempt around the world. There have been 5 orbital failures so far this year. Here's where the pie chart now currently stands. And again, Blue Origin deciding to update with the deployment status about an hour after we saw the broadcast from Blue Origin wrap up at T plus 1 hour, 15 minutes, 44 seconds is when the BlueBird satellite is set to deploy. So we'll wait for updates from them from their social media to confirm either from Blue Origin or from AST SpaceMobile that there's a good deployment of that satellite. The first this year of a planned 45 to 60 satellites that AST SpaceMobile is planning to launch in support of its direct-to-device broadband constellation, promising speeds of 5G quality for customers around the globe through various broadband partners, telecommunications partners here, like Verizon and AT&T in the United States and others around the world. And with that, we're going to go ahead and begin to wrap up our coverage here. Again, big congrats to Blue Origin for another successful booster recovery. I want to thank a couple folks in the live chat as well. To K2 Hat, says thanks for the coverage again. Partly cloudy in Mico, Florida. Hopefully it wasn't too cloudy for you to see the launch with your own eyes, though. Spades Racing with a $5 super chat says first time getting to witness a launch while in Florida. Well, you picked a good day to catch a launch. Hope you're in town for a little while, because for those here in Florida, on Monday is currently planned. There's a launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, sending up a GPS satellite. Keeping an eye on the weather for that one. We'll let you know if there are any further updates to report where that is concerned. Also want to thank Fidu for the $10 super chat. It says, thanks for being the reliable channel for all the launches, regardless of company. Good work on surfacing what we need to hear. Thank you for the kind words. Of course, I just mentioned the upcoming GPS launch from the Cape on Monday. That is the next East Coast launch that we are tracking. But before then, in just a matter of hours, over on the West Coast, another Falcon 9 rocket is set to fly. That supporting a batch of Starlink V2 mini optimized satellites. The mission delayed from yesterday, hoping to fly that coming up here in, again, just a few hours. 10:35 Eastern Time, 7:35 Pacific, 14:35 UTC for those joining around the world. We'll have live coverage of that mission beginning about 30 minutes prior to liftoff. So if the T0 does adjust further, we will, of course, adjust our broadcast accordingly, and we hope to see you there for that coverage. Want to thank our team, though, for their work here on this particular launch. A big thanks to our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images, to Pete Karstens with Max Q Productions. Big thanks to our moderators in the chat who've been helping us out, to Aussie Space Girl and M. Teresa. Also thanks to one of our channel members, Cumulus Granatus, for helping to answer folks' questions in the chat throughout the course of the broadcast. New channel member coming right in at the buzzer, Von de Boyd, joining us with membership at the pad leader level. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. And thanks to Cynthia7564 for the $10 super chat. We really appreciate that. Big thanks as well to our photography team of Adam Bernstein and John Pisani, as well as Michael Kane, who has popped in on a moderator status as well in the live chat today. Also want to be sure to thank our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, who is running the technical operations of the broadcast today. Certainly proving to be a more challenging one than we sometimes encounter, so appreciate the hard work on the tech front there. Most importantly, though, thanks to you, for all of you out there watching along with us live, or if you're catching this on the replay. We certainly appreciate your time and attention, and we look forward to welcoming you back in here when next we have a launch to cover. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We will see you next time, folks. And until then, bye-bye.